This is being recorded. Please, if you have any questions as the presentation goes on, please post them in the chat. If time permits, we will have them answered. Also, I am assuming Alana and Jen will post the membership for the PTSA in the chat. Please join if you have not yet joined. Membership is very important in the high school PTSA. We give scholarships to graduating seniors, and this money goes to fund the scholarship. So for all you know, your child may one day, this year or next year or in a few years, want to apply for a scholarship. This is how they get paid. This is how they receive the money. Also, next Wednesday, our next presentation will be Wednesday, November 2nd on high school programming. We are, as with the curriculum committee, we are front loading everything this year so that the parents get as much of the information as they can before the school year gets too far underway. Okay, it's all to benefit the parents and the students as much as possible. So I'm really excited about today's presentation. I hope that it answers all of our questions about the college application process in today's world and where things stand. And with all of that, I pass this off to Mr. Affini. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ricchito. Welcome, everyone, out in the virtual world. And we have right now currently 156 people on this meet, which is absolutely incredible. And we felt like there's no better way to kick off our 4 PTSA Guidance Liaison Committee meetings with the discussion of the college application process that we'll get into in one moment. But again, I'd like to thank Ms. Ricchito, Ms. Abraham, Ms. LeBalt, the rest of the PTSA for their unending support. And it's really awesome that we have a committee that gets to meet like this 4 times a year. So it's been great working with you. Just a quick brief history with me. It's my 20th year at the high school as a guidance counselor for 6 here, 14th year now going into assistant principal working with the guidance department. And I've always loved this committee, and I've loved the enhancements that we've made with this committee. And I really do credit the PTSA and working with them for doing so. The great part about it being virtual is not only do we have now 162, and I promise I won't continuously update everybody every time the number goes up, but we have a lot of people on these meets right now. And the great thing is we're recording it. We put it out probably at the end of the week. So if you are at the meet and you have to leave, you have work, you have something, you will be able to watch it and catch up and get the updated information that's necessary. So why this committee? Because I'm talking about how incredible this PTSA Guidance Liaison Committee is. It raises awareness. We encourage parent participation, a lot of through questions that we have, discussions that we've had with our program. Some updates have occurred with some of our programs for the better. And we also share accurate information in terms of what's going on with guidance. What I will say is I know there are questions that we were given prior. Ms. Biblo is going to answer them. And then we'll have a little brief question and answer period afterwards. But if there's any personalized question that you have, we always encourage you to contact your child's guidance counselor and they can help you with that. So with what we do here is we will follow the developmental school counseling program within these PTSA meetings. And we'll take important topics to discuss over the next 4 meetings with you, the parents, to discuss what we do here and what we're doing for your children here. But what the developmental school counseling program model begins with the 9th grade. And the work we do in 9th grade, whether it's career exploratory programs, electives, interests, and then we build on that in 10th, and then 11th and 12th, ultimately each year building to what we have here is the discussion we have here today is the college process. So that's ultimately what, if you're a 9th grade parent or if you're an 8th grade parent on here now, which is great, get to hear a little bit about what goes on within the department. I do like to update everybody about a few things that have been going on since the beginning of the school year. It's late September now, but we've really kicked in since August 12th. We had a college boot camp in person and virtual for our senior students, where the guidance counselors, we had students come in, they registered, and they would get to work in a relaxed environment in the summer, in the building or virtual, on their college essay, the common application, the Naviance, connecting their accounts, and they would come in and they'd start working on that through our college boot camp, we call it. September 8th and 9th, we had our senior meetings with our guidance counselors, met with their seniors, and they reviewed a lot of what Ms. Bibelow is going to review today, but also logistical procedures that were reviewed during junior planning meetings in terms of application procedures, letters of recommendations, etc. We then had our evening college application virtual workshop. We had great turnout where each parent and student were in a meet with their guidance counselor and they reviewed the application process. Our students, our freshman students, I apologize, had the opportunity to meet with their guidance counselors last week, and it's really a way to introduce them to the building. We had the freshman orientation in late August, but then we also have our freshman meetings with the guidance counselor, where they review transcripts, extracurricular activities, clubs, the importance of getting involved, where to go to make appointments, but most importantly, your guidance counselor. This is who you come to if you have any questions or concerns. We just completed recording our financial aid presentation with Mr. Joe Shiami. We've been doing that the last few years. And like this, where we record it and send it out, we will do the same in a couple of weeks. We're editing it, putting it together to put a nice package together for the parents and for the parents of the district, with also some packets and stuff that you can watch at your leisure and can help with the FAFSA form and the financial aid process. And of course, questions you call your guidance counselor, because you'll be meeting with them as we go forward with this process. This Monday and Tuesday, we had Naviance teacher recommendation workshops. Counselors were available for really new teachers in terms of how to facilitate and upload their letters of recommendation in Naviance and submission. So we had that on Monday and Tuesday. And then we also have coming up starting on Friday and ending on October 13th, we have about 10 to 12 sessions of our college essay workshop for seniors. And that each session is capped at 5. And why it's capped at 5 is students bring their essay if it's half done, if it's completed, or if they're just getting going with it. And there's a couple of counselors in there to help work with them regarding their essay. So that'll start on Friday, and students have been registering for that. If you're interested in having your child register, but just please see your counselor and we can do so. Next Thursday night, we have our evening grade 9 parent virtual workshop. More information to follow. On October 15th, Saturday, October 15th, we have the PSATs. We usually expect to test anywhere from 500 to 550 students, give or take, sophomores and juniors to take the PSAT. Information was mailed out. If you have questions regarding that, you can always contact your guidance counselor. And payment for those exams will open up on Wednesday. September to November, we have a lot of colleges visit here in person. There's some virtual, but a lot are coming in person. And what's great about that with the school visits, it's the seniors get to sit with the reps from Long Island for that particular college. So 99% of the time, they are the ones reading your child's your child's essays. They're looking at the application, the supplements, everything. And that information is all on Naviance. That information is it's in the guidance counselor's office, and we also make announcements throughout the day. But everything is typically on Naviance for them to see when they're coming in. What I do want to end with before I hand over the presentation to Ms. Bibelow is the amount of work and time that this department does to get involved with keeping current with the trends of admissions. And there's a lot of different schools out there, and there's podcasts that we watch that to keep us updated. But to really keep us updated, there's a lot of stuff that we do internally. We have representatives from different colleges sometimes that come to our weekly department meetings and talk to our department about the trends in admissions in their school. We have, as I mentioned just before, we have colleges visit. They visit for the students, but we also have a guidance counselor in there that gets to interact with them, but also take notes with any updates to let the department know some of the updates that are going on in admissions within those schools. We also have there's a lot of workshops. So there's a lot of bad with COVID, but some of the good with COVID is the opportunity that some of these workshops they're in person, but they're virtual. So it allows the opportunity for more of our counselors to attend these workshops and then share with the department during department meetings. And then our college night committee, which is absolutely incredible. that College Night will be late April this year. Provides constant updates with this process with our department. So with all that being said, Ms. Biblo is going to talk a lot about what I just said and then even more involved. She did this last year and just did an absolutely incredible job. So without further ado, I want to introduce Ms. Biblo to talk about the college process.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be asked to do this again. It is my passion and my most favorite part of my job. I thought I wanted to be a middle school counselor, but then when I was put in the high school and got involved with college applications and admissions, that was it. I was hooked. So for 27 years, I've been doing this here. Kind of know what I'm doing at this point. But as you can see, a pandemic hit, and just when we think we know what we're doing and we're staying in our lane, the whole thing explodes. But the good thing is like Mr. Raffini said, our department is amazing and we're on top of everything. And as things change, we're updated. And as the process changes, we learn, especially from year to year with our students. And I'm very happy to report that our school basically has been unaffected in terms of admission, except for some of the top elite kids, which we'll talk about a little bit. But other than that, we're cruising and we're doing great. And our students are going off to wonderful places with really great scholarships. So everybody, we're going to try to keep the anxiety level low and the excitement level up, because college admissions is a great time in your child's life. So I'm going to turn into present mode now. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully that'll work. Yep. Okay. Okay. So let me go back. College 101. The most important part of a college application is the transcript. Very, very important. The transcript is the #1 piece of information that the colleges look at. They want to see the level of courses that the student has taken each and every year. We show the students their transcript, a transcript in 9th grade, so that they have an idea of what's going to happen every single year after that and how to build a thorough, complete, well-rounded, a high-achieving transcript. So with that, we offer Regents, Honors, Advanced Placement, and college-level courses. So we give the kids the opportunity to be challenged to their ability. Not everyone is an AP kid. Not everyone is an honors kid. There are students that stay in their lane and have never taken an honors or AP class, such as my own daughter, and went on to amazing colleges with scholarships. So again, that's something that is a child family decision. And of course, you could talk to your counselor, but being in the right courses and doing well is the most important. The GPA, we all know that there's one number and it's a scary number to some people, but it doesn't have to be, because remember, this is an average of 4 years, some actually 5 years if you take into account the 8th grade. Some kids come with some credits. So our GPA is either weighted or unweighted, but on the transcript, we always just put it as a weighted GPA. This means the student, if they took an honors course, or if they took an AP course, they get a bonus point added to the GPA, not their score on their transcript. So if a student got a B+ in AP Human Geography, it remains a B+ on the transcript, but it will be calculated as an A. So therefore, it is weighted. So the score on their transcript, that final grade point average, is going to be a weighted GPA of the 3.5 years. That is the GPA. Senior year is not part of the final GPA that we send to colleges. The final GPA will be on the transcript when we forward that to the ultimate university that that child plans to attend. So they will be seeing, the colleges will be seeing the GPA after their junior year. Senior year, we always tell the kids, you want to keep up with the strength of your program. I know in the 80s when I went to school, we tried to bail out as soon as we can. We had this early release and everybody went home and went to their jobs. But now colleges really want to see the kids engaged and learning in school and taking advantage of all those elective classes that we offer here. I live here too, and I'm so amazed at our curriculum manual hosts more electives than some college programs. So for, now's the time to take those classes. Even for enrichment, colleges love to see kids taking photography and baking and painting and consumer auto and business classes. This is just to make the kids well-rounded and interested and, learning. So, where else in your life can you have this opportunity to do that? So I encourage seniors to stay, especially my own seniors, because I think it's a wonderful thing to do. The mid-year grade report. The kids are always asking, are they going to see my senior year grades? Yes, colleges see your senior year grades. We automatically will send your first and second quarter grades to every college that the kids apply to. So it's very important that they keep up their first and second quarter grades. And then I tell them, if you're deferred, they may actually call me and ask me for your third quarter grades. So it is very, very important to make sure that the kids keep up their senior year, they stay involved in their strength of their program, and they finish off that senior year really, really strong. Standardized tests. So I'm hoping in years from now, this slide will be deleted, but it's not. We're getting there. Standardized tests are still offered. As we know, we still offer the SAT and the ACT. The colleges do not care which one you submit if they require, or even if they don't require. You can choose which one to take. They are very different tests, and a lot of the kids are experiencing that by taking practice tests and trying to figure out which one suits them the best. Score choice is still an option to most colleges, not all. Score choice basically means it's your choice which test date to send. You could send math from one test date, you could send English from another test date, and that's all on the ACT. But the SAT will make you actually pick and choose certain test dates, and then they will super score. So it really depends on the college, the test. So many factors go into score choice. So I would definitely recommend having that conversation with your guidance counselor. And again, not every college accepts super scoring. So in case you don't know what your college is, it'll probably say it on the website. But score choice is basically meaning you cannot send a score. You could send the score. It's totally up to you. Years ago, you had to send the scores. Now you don't. You can pick and choose which test date. Remember, I always tell the seniors, you have to send their scores. We do not send their scores because guidance doesn't know which scores you want to send. So the kids actually go online to the ACT website or the College Board website, and for a fee, of course, they send their scores. Some colleges will allow the kids to self-report on the Common App to spare them that money until they actually get into the college, and then they'll send their scores officially through the College Board or ACT. So here's the big question, test optional. And I know I have some questions about that. And you knew I was going to review this anyway. Test optional is definitely still a thing. I think it's a great thing. That's just my personal opinion. We did see an increase in submitting versus not submitting. I think that was our first question. Did guidance find an increase in SIACIT? Of course, because years ago you had to submit, but there are a lot of kids that are falling on that border of should I submit, should I not submit, and a lot chose not to submit. Did that hurt our admissions? Not at all. I can't even tell you how many times I have spoken to our reps who give us firsthand information and said, if you do not submit the score, we do not take that into consideration. That's just not something they will look at. They will look at everything else in the application. They do not say, you know, oh, this student sent a score, this student didn't send a score. They compare you to you. And if you feel that your artwork is amazing and you're applying for art, you send your artwork, right? If you feel that this is a strong point, that you are a really good test taker, standardized test is your thing, you know, you've got this and you did really well, you'd want to showcase that, right? And you'd want to send your score. If you're not a test taker, if you do really well in your classes, but you're not a test taker and you didn't do well, don't send your score if they give you that opportunity. To me, it's all about the average. If you fall in the mean of the class that they're looking for and they have last year's stats online, then send your score. If you do not send your score. Either way, it will not hurt you in their admissions process. It's only going to hurt if you have a really low score and they're looking for a really high score. But obviously, you shouldn't submit. Okay, last year, did guidance find college acceptances in Syosset increase, decrease, or stay the same for students who do not submit the test scores? On average, you know, we don't know, unfortunately, we don't know which of our students are sending versus not sending. So I don't have that statistical data for you. But what I can tell you is after, again, I'm updated all the time from these reps. Almost all the colleges are teetering on a 50-50 admit rate versus those who submitted and those who did not. So we're in that 50-50 range, and I would imagine that here too. So, you know, 50% sent, 50% didn't. It did not hurt admission. So, you know, it did not hurt our acceptances at all. My guess is it probably helped our acceptances. Okay, what do guidance think an application needs to show if not submitting the test score? So again, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. You still want to put together the best application that you can, which we're going to go over in a second. Whether you send your scores or not, you're still putting your best foot forward with this application. And I'm going to give you some tips and strategies as we move forward. So hopefully I relieved all of your questions with test optional. I think it's definitely a wonderful thing. I think it evens the playing field financially and also for kids who are not test takers. And I think that the brightest and most academic kids can still showcase themselves by sending, and those of us like myself who are not test takers probably wouldn't have sent my score, and I turned out just okay. So I'm going to move on to visiting. So now we're going to get in the heart of me trying to give you some great tips. So visiting now is great because now we're virtual and we're in person. So now you have a choice, which is fabulous. A college can't hold it against you for not visiting. It's expensive. They don't base their decision on demonstrated interest because you visited a college at all. So please know that you don't have to be flying across the country, you know, to go see these schools. I would, of course, suggest visiting after you were admitted, and if that's, you know, a viable option for you to go to school. But by all means, now we have such incredible technology. I would urge you to do the virtual visits. So how do you do that? You go online to each college and find the link to undergraduate admission. There should be a link to set up either an in-person tour or a virtual tour. Sometimes the virtual tours are, you know, kind of live or through YouTube. But they also have events that you can register for online, live events with admissions counselors or the business college or the School of Education. And I know that I did that for my own daughter. We sat for many hours at night, which is great because it's not during the school day, no activities. 7 o'clock at night, we would log into the University of Florida, meet with the admissions rep. Sometimes there were 6 kids on the meet, and sometimes there were hundreds. But we got all of our questions answered. We got to meet with the students that were there that were on a live panel, so we got our questions answered. So sometimes these virtual events are actually more helpful than visiting the school, because you actually get to talk to an admissions counselor. And on these tours, when you go to the schools, sometimes there's not an admissions person, it's just a student walking you around campus. If you have the opportunity to do both, great. But if not, definitely tap into one of the virtual visits. It also helps you when you go to write that supplemental question and they ask about, why are you a great fit for that school? Well, now you just had this virtual visit and you learned so much about that school that you might not have known from just looking at their website. So I think by doing these virtual visits, it's a wonderful way for you to increase your knowledge and get that across to admissions. I want to make sure that you realize that this is important just for your own information. I know I weeded out a lot of colleges for my own daughter by just doing these virtual visits, because after you do these, you're like, I don't know if this is for you or if this is the right program. So Mr. Ruffini tapped on this before, the opportunities to talk to college reps. I can't even tell you that without this opportunity, I couldn't do my job. Because although the podcasts are great and things that people do outside, or any kind of programs that are offered, this stuff changes. The college admissions process can change months from now. Not only a year from now, but even months from now, we get updated. So as part of my job, the whole department has to stay on top of college admissions. The landscape changes so fast. So how do we do this? We have these live college rep Syosset High School visits. So that means that the reps that we talk to all the time actually come to Syosset High School. I'm so happy it's back in person. And the guidance counselors sit and listen, and the students come and sit and listen. So most importantly, guidance, because now we share that information with each other and they give us the most up-to-date stat information. We usually meet with them after the kids leave and get all that information from them. Keep in mind, these reps change. They're usually 25, 26 years old. They're usually their first or second job and they're getting their feet wet in admissions. So we have to meet with these new reps every single year and stay on top of them. We're lucky enough to have that opportunity for the ones that are here longer to build those relationships. But sometimes reps come and go. The virtual information sessions for students and guidance counselors. So again, on the students' end, it's what I just referred to, going on those virtual information sessions at night or after school hours. But for the guidance counselors, I can't even tell you how many I'm already signed up for, and my colleagues as well. We have Big Ten conferences now virtually. We have New England colleges virtually. So where these networks of colleges come together virtually. So, from 12 to 2, I'm signed out and I am online virtually with these reps who go through each of their colleges and their admissions and their programs. So this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us here in guidance to stay connected and to see what all the updates are. And especially they always update us on last year's class, which is the platform for next year's class. We also have our college night and our panel discussion every year. We have our local college fairs that we always urge and recommend our kids going to. Nassau Community College in Hofstra. Their fairs are enormous, and what an incredible opportunity to get to meet those reps again. Guidance counselor have live local meetings with our reps as well. A lot of them are now back in person. So some of us will go to the Marriott in Uniondale or on campus at CW Post, or, you know, locally at a restaurant where Alabama comes or where Ohio State comes. And we actually get to meet with the reps. I went to an event 2 nights ago that it was at night for a Big Ten network. So we try to go as often as we can to also meet with those reps. Also, what we started last year is fantastic. There were a couple colleges last year that we were really shocked with admission, some for the better, some for the worse. And we said, you know what, why wait? Why wait for these events? So we actually reached out to the rep and set up virtual meetings one-on-one, which was fabulous. So I got all the guidance counselors together on a Google Meet. We spoke to the University of Texas, we spoke to Michigan, we spoke to Maryland, we spoke to Ohio State, we spoke to Wisconsin, we spoke to Vermont. I mean, we got a whole plethora of colleges that met with us one-on-one just with our department. So we were able to get into the nitty-gritty kinds of questions. We actually sampled some students without giving names and questioned why were they admitted, why were they not admitted, just to help us. We asked those hard questions. So please know that we are seeking every opportunity to stay on top of admissions and talk to the college representatives. But again, this changes every single year. Enrollments change, programs change, requirements change, and questions change on the actual application. So we need to know the answers to that, and we need to stay on top of that. Okay, how to apply. Some of you may know this. Some of you may have heard this and don't know exactly what this is. So I'm going to do this as clearly and efficiently as I can. So early decision. Early decision is for that student who has done their research. They have definitely visited the college. They spent quality time there, not just a tour. And they realize this is the college for them. They can't imagine themselves anywhere else. If they are admitted, they are in full force. They can't wait to go. They're going to pull all their other applications out and they're going to go. So how do you decide this? You need to know by November 1, typically. Remember, dates that I'm throwing you are just kind of typical, but it could change. So the student commits themselves on November 1, the parent signs an agreement, I sign an agreement, it's a legal document. The student applies, typically they hear by the new year, some give or take, the anticipation of that date. And if they are admitted, they must attend, and I can't express that enough, they must attend. You cannot wait to hear if you were admitted to other schools just to see if you would have gotten in. You need to pull out all of your other applications. We do that and we enforce that ethically because you know you have to go there, and we don't want to hold spots from other Syosset high school students or students anywhere else on Long Island that are their peers and they're competing with for such limited spots. So we ask all students to realize this is a very big commitment, and your counselor is going to ask you if you are following up and making sure that you pull your application out if you were indeed admitted. There is something called early decision round 2, which is for that student that A, either didn't get into their first choice early decision, or 2, needed a little bit more time to figure out where they wanted to go. They weren't really sure they wanted to make that commitment. They needed more time to visit other schools. People will sometimes ask me, well, what if I can't afford it? What if I get in and I can't afford to go to this school? That's a very good question, and a question that you should be asking your school that you are applying early decision to. Some will base that on financial aid that you get, and some won't. So I urge you, before signing any documentation, and I always ask my students to make sure that you check with the college that if your financial aid package doesn't come through, what happens to that early decision, okay? Early action priority. This is the #1 way that our students here at Syosset High School apply. Same deadline, November 1. However, it is not a binding agreement. So students can apply to as many colleges as they want early action. It's really not early action anymore, because it used to be they used to let you know by December 15th. You're lucky sometimes if you hear by then. but I think early action now took on the saying of like earlier than the spring. But I still encourage all the kids to apply early action because you want to get these done anyway. You want to get them out by November 1 because a lot of these colleges denote scholarships based on that, awards, merit. So you want to make sure that you get those in by November 1. And whenever you hear, you hear. But you know, you want to make sure that you get those in. Restrictive early action are pretty much the Ivy League more competitive schools. They're kind of taking a stance that although it's not binding, you can only apply to us early action and no other school. They're kind of taking control over the student, taking their power away. So that's pretty restrictive. That's why they call it restrictive early action. You probably won't come across that too much, but I wanted to throw it out there. Rolling admission. Rolling admission used to be for a lot more schools. Now it's not. Now there's probably a handful. I know Indiana is one of them. Pitt is one of them. Rolling is basically, Alabama is another one. It's like a first come, first serve. So the sooner you can get those applications in, the sooner you'll hear. So you might hear kids in early October hearing that they already got into Indiana. I know Arizona too, it's rolling. So, you know, you've kids in August who already heard. So just keep in mind, I know that the students want to get these out as soon as possible. And by all means, the student can send out their applications. That's not a problem, but it does take time for guidance to process. We're writing multiple letters of recommendation. Your teachers are amazing, and they don't have to do this. They're taking that time to actually write letters for lots and lots of their students. They don't want to be rushed, which I'm sure you don't want them to rush either. And they will get them out as soon as possible. But technically, for the kids applying early action, they do have till November 1. And rolling admissions, I'm sure if you let them know, they'll try to do it as soon as possible. But just know this is a gift that they're giving to the district, and we don't want to rock the boat too much with that. So I'm so happy we have teachers that are willing to do this. Regular decision just means that the student applied by the college's deadline date, which can be January, February usually. So as long as they get their application in by that time, that's fine. I usually find with regular decision, that's for the student that just decides, you know, they applied to a bunch of early actions and they just decided to throw a couple more in. You know, that's usually the regular decision student, or for the colleges that just, that's the way you have to apply. It's the regular decision because you didn't do early decision. Usually the private schools, that's the case. So for example, Cornell, it's two choices, regular decision or early decision. So if you're not applying early, you just apply regular. So hopefully I cleared up that and understanding how to apply. So here we get to the applications. So the college applications. The Common App is the #1 route to the application process. Most kids use the Common Application. It's home to over 1,000 schools. It's very user-friendly. It's an online application. The kids create a username and a password in the fall, usually after August 1st, and they start working on it. That application can be sent to many, many colleges. There are definitely questions that the specific schools that the kids add will ask. We'll get into that soon. The coalition application, my guess is we probably won't have that little annotation on here next year. I don't really know many schools who participate in the coalition anymore. So many are on the Common App now, which is fabulous, but you might have that 1 or 2 schools that are still using the coalition. If they participate in both, I would urge you to use the Common App because the coalition is just another application, a lot more time, a lot more work. California state schools. I know we have a lot of interested students in going out west. I think that's awesome. They use their own state application. I do know that they have some early deadline dates, so you may want to take a look at that and create your own account applying to California state schools. We also have the CUNY application, which is the City University of New York. So that's like Baruch, Hunter, All the colleges in the city, that's the city version of SUNY, they have their own application. And please know that SUNY schools are all on the Common App. That's why I don't have an extra link for the SUNY application, but CUNY is not. So any student that wants to apply to the CUNY school has to use their application. Nassau Community College, they also have their own application. They're not on the Common App. So any students interested in attending Nassau know that the application is online. Colleges also have their own application. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's easier to do the college's application. You need to look at it because sometimes they don't require the same information as they do for the regular application on the Common App. If they do have both and you're already working on the Common App, you may as well do the Common App. But it's always good to check their application too to see what the difference is. I always like my students to do that anyway. So again, the number one would be the common application that our kids use, and that would be started after August 1st. Volunteering and resumes and activities and all their wonderful sports. So how do we get this across? I mean, this to me is such an important part of the application because it's not grades. It's everything else that makes you and you wonderful. And the colleges love to see what you can bring to their campus. And I can't stress that enough with our 9th graders. On average, statistically, according to the universities, the more a student does in high school, the more they're going to contribute greatness and to their activities while in college. So the Common App will give our kids 10 spots, 10 items to write. We know some of our kids have more. Sometimes they don't, that's it, sorry, they'll give you 10 spots. Some schools will let you upload that resume. Not many though, but I still love when kids work on a resume because it's good to have for future job prospects. Also, it's good to give to your guidance counselor so that we can highlight what you've done. But every now and then you might come across a college that will allow you to upload a resume, and that would be on their questions section. So do you need one? That all depends on the college you're applying to and if you went over the 10. To me, if you are able to keep your activities in 10, less is more. But I know that there are some kids that have just done so much and they want to get that point across. So make a resume. And if they allow you to upload it, then great. If you don't have 10 things that you've done, please don't worry. It's quality over quantity. So I know kids that are involved in 3 things that they're president of, and it's taking up all their time. Plus they are in private music classes or they're in outside sports teams. That's okay. If you only have 3 or 4, that's fabulous. It's really just what makes you you. Don't feel like you have to fill every single spot. So I know on one of the questions it was asked, how do you decide what order to list the activities in? Right on the application it says, literally right on the application, list in order of most importance to you. So this is how I strategize this. I'm thinking they probably are going to skim this if they want to know the list of importance. So my guess for them, give them the answer. What is most important to you? What do you want them to see? What do you want them to walk away with if they only skim and they only look at the first 3 and say, wow, this kid did a lot. They're going to look at number 1. They're going to look at number 2. What did you do? What do you want them to know? Do you want them to know that you were the varsity basketball player and you were the captain? Or do you want them to know that you were you went to camp and you got this amazing position as a color war general and that showed leadership? So I know it's hard, but it has to be of what's most important to you. When the students ask me what order should I put it in, I don't know because I'm not you. It has to come from you because this is where you have that opportunity to shine and to show the colleges what you're most vested in. They want to know everything inside and outside of that classroom: sports, services, clubs, work, internships, 9th through 12th grade. It's nice that you started a lemonade stand in 5th grade. That's not important to them now. 9th through 12th grade, babysitting, anything, a community service project, a program that you did in Israel, or you went and did a water purification in Africa. Anything and everything can go on an activity record. If you have a question about that, speak to your guidance counselor and we can help you with that. I know I've helped so many of my kids figure out what to put into their actual application. So hopefully your kids are getting involved. Also, please know that SIASA doesn't have a minimum or a maximum volunteer hour requirement. So we don't need proof of any of that. This is all coming from the student. And again, they're signing off on that application. So ethically, you want to make sure that, you know, no one's exaggerating or lying on the application. Letters of recommendation. So this is another very crucial part of the application. Guidance does not read teacher letters of recommendation. So students can say to us, you know, who writes the best, or, you know, I asked these 2 teachers, can you read them and ask me which one to send? We don't read letters of recommendation for anybody. We don't even have access to it. So the student has to try to ask 2 academic teachers in the building. We want a minimum of 2. They could certainly ask more, but a minimum of 2 academic teachers, preferably from 11th grade. They can go to 10th. We do not recommend 9th. It's very far back in a student's history, but if that is the only teacher that they felt can write something positive and strong, then by all means go to 9th. But most colleges want to see 11th grade. Check the college's minimum and maximum. Some schools will allow 1, some will allow 4. You know, you're going to have, the students are going to have the opportunity to pick and choose which teacher gets sent to which college. So if you look in advance at your colleges, you might be able to take a peek, a sneak peek for next year to figure out how many you would probably want to ask. But we require at least 2. So how do they ask these teachers? Usually in the spring and not before, because they're still working on this year's class. So if you're a junior, typically in the spring, we'll tell you to approach the teacher, you know, either in person, which would be nice, or through an email, a really nice email, asking them if they'd be willing to write your formal letter of recommendation for college. All the teachers know what this is. And then ultimately, we will remind the kids in the fall and over the summer. We use Naviance to actually literally request the teacher. They'll get an upload request through Naviance to submit their letter. Outside recommenders. So these are coaches outside of school, employers, camp counselors, directors, you know, anyone outside of school, alumni, for kids that feel like their application would be enhanced by someone not only from SIASA, but someone from the outside. The only thing is you need to make sure that the college that you're applying to allows that many letters, because you don't want the outside person to supersede the academic teacher. So if they allow 4, maybe that would be a good time to get an outside recommender. So the Common App is how we use that feature to invite an outside recommender. And all of us will absolutely show the kids how to do that. It's a very simple process, but just know that it gets sent to every school. The kids can't pick and choose which school it gets sent to. So the letter is going to go pretty much to every single school. The essay. So in my opinion, it's not really an essay because an essay usually has a thesis and a body paragraphs. This is to me more like a personal statement. And this is where the kids get a little setback. It's understandable. This is the first time that they're usually asked to write about themselves. Typically they're answering a question from a book, or, you know, they're writing something about history. They're writing essays about something from a specific class. But this is the first time where they're actually questioned about themselves. So to me, this is also my most favorite part of the application, because nowhere else in this application can you express yourself and try to jump off of the page. Everything else is data, where this is more, hey, look at me, I'm talking to you. Can't you read what I'm trying to say? And that's what we want to get across. I use the verbiage MIM, okay? So make it memorable, M-I-M. Try to remember that, MIM. Make it memorable. You want them to pass this essay around. You want them to say, wait, because I do that here. I'll say, you guys, you have to read this essay. It is so good. That's what we want. That's what we want to stick out for admissions. Make it memorable, MIM. What inspires you? What has challenged you? What have you learned about yourself and others? It doesn't have to be about school. In fact, some of the best essays that I've ever read have nothing to do with school. And I'm talking from the top students who could write about research projects and Intel finalists. And what do they write about? Oranges that their grandparents sent to them every single year. A swing set in their backyard that is rusted and old and their parents want to remove. And the student is upset because that was her past and her childhood and her freedom. Lots of amazing ideas are coming from these kids, and they're right in your backyard. So talk it out, get some help. Talk to your English teachers, come to your guidance counselors. We've read so many. We love to hear your ideas. We love brainstorming with you, but make sure nobody writes it for you. I can't even tell you how many times admissions counselors have said, we know when a student has had the essay written for them. We know a teenage voice. We know teenage writing. They're not adults. Even the best and the brightest kids are still teenagers, and they have a way of writing. So please do not pay someone to write your child's college essay. Yes, they can get help. Yes, they can get feedback, but let it be their voice. The Common App prompts, I'm sharing this with you now. You can easily Google them. Every now and then they change. They haven't changed in about 3 years now. There's typically 7 prompts. 7 is share an essay on any topic of your choice. So usually that's there for the kids that, you know, the 6 prompts aren't really hitting the mark, or they already wrote an essay that they loved and they want to use it. But 1 through 6 is really meant to help the kids. Because again, so many kids don't know, can't think about what they want to write about, and this helps them focus on what to write about, and ultimately they will pick one. The essay is 650 words. That's it. It's 1 page, single space. That is it. So you have 650 words to tell your story. Supplements. This is another part of the application that can be a little tedious, whereas the main essay goes to every college the kids apply to. Supplements are dependent on a specific college. So not all colleges have supplements. For example, Delaware, Ohio State, no supplement. Michigan, UMass, Syracuse, lots of supplements. So if a student is applying to 10 schools and they just happen to hit the jackpot and get 10 supplements, that's a lot of work. So that's why the kids tend to procrastinate with their applications. So supplemental writing are basically mini short answers. Sometimes it can be as long as an essay or 200 words. Sometimes, like Maryland, they can ask you a bunch of sentences to answer, like, what did you do last Wednesday? Or what was the coolest statistic that you've heard? Lots of cool things out there that these colleges are asking. Why do they do this? You already wrote the essay, you already wrote this application, you're tired, you're a senior, you want to be done. Why are they doing this to you? 2 reasons. 1, they definitely want to weed out the kids that don't want to go there. because sometimes they're asking multiple questions. And I know, because I've heard it from my own students here, I'm not going to do that. I know I don't want to go there that badly that I want to write 2 essays. So they want that. They want to weed out the kids that don't really want to go. But for the kids that really do want to go, these are very important. In fact, probably, tip, the most important part of the application, because for a school that's asking this question, they want to know why you feel you belong there. What are you going to give to them? And what are they going to give to you? How do I know that? I've never seen Wisconsin. How do I know Wisconsin's for me? I mean, I see my friends with a bumper sticker and they have bed parties. Why do I want to go to Wisconsin? What makes them different than another school? Why study education at Wisconsin over another school? They want to know that. So how do you find that out? Research. That takes time. You have to go online. You have to go on the internet. You have to look at their programs. You have to look at their clubs, their statistics, their job placement, opportunities. Where do they do their internships? Who are the professors? What kind of research are the professors doing? Can I get involved with research? What can I do in the business school? What are my opportunities there over somewhere else? Why do I want to be a Badger? What are the traditions at that school? What does the campus look like? What am I going to get out of that school? And what am I going to give? You have an amazing volunteer program. Hey, I did volunteer. I did that same thing in high school. I am so ready to be a part of that program. But how would I have known about that program unless I delved into the University of Wisconsin and did my research? And that's what they want you to do. They want the students to take the time to understand why they want to go there. And they know it. They see it in that application. It reflects in their voice. And that's what can make the difference between someone getting in and not getting in, even with a 92 average and a 98 average. This, to me, is one of the most important parts of the application. Classified and 504 students. We always like to bring this up because there are students, plenty of students with accommodations, whether they're learning disabled, they're visually impaired, hearing impaired, whatever your disability is. There's different programs out there. All schools offer many different kinds of accommodations. I always urge the kids to make a phone call to their office for students with disabilities, find out what documentation is required. Usually you don't have to let them know until after you've been admitted. But a lot of these schools have great support programs, like Arizona has a SALT program. Local schools have great support programs where you pay an extra fee. And it's almost like getting your own support resource room on a college campus. So for anyone who's classified or has a 504 plan, definitely do a little bit more research. You could talk to your guidance counselors about that as well and learn about the differences between accommodations and comprehensive programs. Other considerations, programs of study. I mean, are you going to be a dance major, a theater major, an art major? Are you an athlete? There are so many other ways to apply to programs. Their honors programs may have a separate application, or they may just admit you to an honors program based on your grades. For the arts, do I have to send in a portfolio? Do I have to do something on Slide Room? Are they very specific with their portfolio? Do I have to audition for dance, or do I just send in a videotape? For theater, do I have a live audition? Do I have to go to the school? What are the deadline dates for auditions? These are all online and all great questions for the admissions counselor. So anytime any student is doing an other consideration, a med program, a combined program, these are when the students have to take an additional step and do some research, which of course your guidance counselor is here to help with. Athletics, again, I just mentioned, if you are a student planning on playing Division I or II sports, the NCAA clearinghouse form must be filled out. We definitely reiterate that to our seniors because you cannot step foot on a field or in a basketball arena without being cleared by the NCAA. We always encourage Division III players to do that as well, even though it's not mandatory, just in case you change your mind and get pulled up to Division II. You decide on a Division II school. So I want to bring up Naviance pretty quickly. I'm sure you've all heard this term and not understanding what it is. So I'm going to briefly review our Naviance program. Number one, you want to make sure your child has a working username and password. If not, talk to one, have them go see the guidance secretary. The guidance secretaries can easily set up the username and passwords for the kids. Why use Naviance? What do we use it for? We use it for college searches. We use it to compare yourself, letters of recommendation, college transcripts. So it's usually twofold. The students use it for great research for schools, and the counselors use it because we send everything through Naviance. That's our portal to the schools, your transcripts and all letters of recommendation. So when the students are actually applying to school, they're going to be linking their Common App account and their Naviance account, and the student has to have their own account. I know the parents have an account, but when they're applying, they need to have their own account, or else, unless your parent wants to go to school like me. So this is just a quick sample of what a screen on Naviance would look like. If you pull up, let's say Binghamton, they'll give you the average net price, the graduation rate, their acceptance rate, how many colleges are similar. You can click that and they'll tell you what other colleges are comparable to Binghamton. They'll tell you their early action deadline. So this is really wonderful. Now, if you're looking at the acceptance rate, that's actually pretty good, 40% for Binghamton. Our Naviance account takes into account the last 5 years of our students' application, so you can compare yourselves to other students at Syosset High School alone. In the next slide, it's going to show you, if you pull this up for yourself, it'll show you the acceptance history for Binghamton. It'll show you from year to year how many applied, how many were accepted, and how many actually enrolled. So that's pretty useful to get an idea of just Syosset High School students. So there used to be a scattergram that I used to show you. This, which I'm not a fan of anymore, pretty much unless you're top tiered score-wise on standardized testing, just because a lot of kids didn't enter, they use the test optional, and a lot of this is based on a test, so it's not very accurate. So if you are looking at the scattergram, please just, don't take it too seriously, because the reality is it's not correct information. I wanted to show it to you just because I know it's out there and people have been questioning. Okay, my favorite part of Naviance is this college search. It's really great. It takes 3,000 schools, and your student can do this at any time. It's like a survey. It asks you many, many questions. You click view matches and it gives you a list of every college that fits your profile. Pages and pages, so you can kind of highlight what you would consider, what you wouldn't consider, but it asks you so many questions. Do you want sports? What is your grades? What is your major? So I love playing around with this because it changes the schools. One question can change the actual number of matches that you get. So have fun with this, and you could do this over and over again. Okay, so the moment you've been waiting for, the kids are waiting and waiting for their decisions. Decisions. Okay, how do you find out if you get in? Everything is online, everything. All the kids get a portal access and they find out online. They're either accepted, they're denied, they're deferred, or they're waitlisted. Accepted, yay. Denied, boo. Deferred, they're not sure, okay? So the difference between deferred and waitlisted is a common question. If you are deferred, they're not sure yet. They want to see who else is applying. They want to see who else is accepting. They may want to see your mid-year grades, and they're not really sure. So they're going to put you off and make you stress till the spring. Have no choice over that. They may tell you, oh, if you're still interested, you could write a letter. You could send us more updated information, but they're not going to give you a decision until the spring. Waitlisted is very different. Waitlisted means they love you. They want you. There's just not enough room. So they're going to wait. They're going to wait to see how many beds they have. They're going to wait to see how many nurses they need, how many business majors, how many engineering majors, and they're going to hand select based on their needs, not yours, theirs. Do kids get pulled off a wait list? Sure. Sometimes they're actually pulled in August when you already have a roommate ready to say goodbye to your family and friends. And all of a sudden, the University of Texas will call and say, guess what? Kid not coming. We have a bed open in the nursing school. Want to come? So waitlisting. You can opt to stay on the wait list or take yourself off the wait list. That's completely up to you. We've been seeing a lot more decisions that are interesting. Such as Cornell. Cornell will either admit, deny, defer, waitlist, or now take you the second semester, the second year, the third year. Lots of these schools now have these alternative acceptance programs, and we've been seeing a nice shift towards that. They may send you abroad the first semester if you go to Northeastern. They just don't have enough room and they still want you, so they're going to send you abroad. And then second semester will take you because the second semester kids are going abroad. So you may get a lot of different responses with their decision for you. If you are confused, not understanding if you were admitted, of course, reach out to your guidance counselor and we will absolutely help you understand your admission policy. Again, ED admit, you must attend, you must pull all of your other applications. There is a commitment day of May 1st, which means that you will know where you're going by May 1st because you must leave a deposit by May 1st to whatever school you have decided to choose, except for early decision. Well, everyone else, you have to leave a decision and a deposit by May 1. And my final slide, goal. This is very important. Think about the goal. The goal is to try to find the right fit. Admission is a match to be made and not a prize to be won. Do not focus on the name of the school, the bed party, the balloons, the sweatshirt. Focus on your child, the student, what's going to make them happy, because before you know it, this process is going to end and your child is going to be sitting on a college campus. Nobody else cares except you and your kid. Are they happy? Is it the right fit? Because we have seen time and time again, it's ultimately the happiness that is the predictor of academic success. They could have gotten into the name brand school, but if they're not happy and healthy, they're going to come home. So you have to make sure that you get past all the anxiety of the name and focus on what matters most. Is this the right fit? So with that, I'm going to close out of here and get back to the Google Meet. I have questions that I'm going to answer, and then I will, of course, open up the platform for everybody. First question is ACT/SAT. When should parents get everything, meaning hiring tutors, join test prep? And when should the parents have their kids start to test prep? So I believe parents started at birth in Syosset. So, in nursery school, they've already started the SAT prep. No, I'm just kidding. So I definitely have seen a shift in my 27 years of when the test prep and when the kids actually start taking the test. That doesn't mean I'm a fan of it, but a lot of the kids have started taking the test earlier in junior year. We have some kids sitting in September, which I find insane. Our recommendation would still be the sooner the better. You want to kind of prep during the school year and take the test in the spring. You have a full year. Kids don't realize this. And you have a full year to try to do as well as you can on this test. So there's really no rush. I know that the anxiety and everyone talking, oh, I got this guy, I got that guy, I got this woman, I got this program, what's the best? It's expensive. And I think everyone needs to kind of, in my own personal opinion, just take a step back from all this and think about this and the time into commitment and all this, and thinking about your student, when is the right time to take this test? Because guidance is going to try to push you to the spring because you have another year of learning. You have another year of brain development. You may not perform as well as you did, in the fall, and then you may stress the student out even more and yourself. What if the student isn't doing so well? So you want to make sure that you really get to know your own kid. The application, how do you decide what, I did that. Listing a major, do you think it helps or hurts or has no impact on a student's acceptance? It does not matter. Undecided is completely fine. Letters of recommendation, I went over. How do you suggest students compile a list of schools? That's something they can easily do with their guidance counselor. I mean, that's our job, is to help students compile a list of schools based on their interests and their passions and, the landscape of career opportunities ahead. And the final question, why would some schools routinely take 6 kids, for example, from Roslyn, but only 1 from Syosset? That we'll never have an answer for that. We don't have a crystal ball. This process is very, very subjective. I don't have an answer for that. Some years Cornell takes 13 of our kids, and one year they took 1. We will never have an answer. And you know what? I don't even want to compare ourselves to other schools because it's just not helping the situation. Just care about your own child and not even others in our school, and just work on giving them the best opportunity and the best application. And please know, my final note is you do not have to hire anybody to help you with this process. I said this last year. Our department rocks. We seriously, there's not one counselor in here that doesn't know what they're doing. We are phenomenal. I have full faith in all of them. What you should do is tap into them with your taxpayer dollar instead of running out and spending even more money. We are awesome. So please take advantage of us. So with that, I turn it over to Mr. Ruffini. If anyone has any additional questions, I'd be happy to take a few because I know we're running out of time.
I'm sorry, before Mr. Ruffini, if you don't mind, I apologize for jumping in, but Ms. Biblo, first of all, thank you so much. It's been wonderful. But I at least saw from questions that were submitted in advance, there was one that I don't think you got a chance to answer.
Go ahead.
About telling the story on the application.
I try to in the essay. The essay and the supplements is really your story, because nowhere else in the application are you sharing a story. The whole application in itself is a story. They see your activities, so they kind of know your leadership and know what you're about. The stories are in the letters of recommendation that the teachers are writing about, your leadership. What have you done in the classroom? Are you that kind of kid that helps the student next to you that's struggling? That's part of your story. In our letter, we're writing a story. But when it comes for the student actually having that say, that essay is their story. This is the story. I know a lot of people ask me about that final question on the Common App where it says, is there any additional information that you would like to relate to admissions? That's really not to tell another story. That's really meant for kids to disclose a disability, to talk about an event in their life that was impactful, if there was a loss of a family member or something significant happened. It's not to do another kind of, you got to take me, I love this school, my family goes there, I'm awesome. That's really meant if there was somewhere on the app that you couldn't get across something on the actual application. But to me, the whole application is telling a story. And you don't have to know what your passion is. They're 17 years old. But by 17, I know kids have an interest, and I know kids think, and I know kids have their likes and dislikes. And I know kids are out there learning and growing and sharing and have personal stories, and that's what they're looking for.
Hi, Ms. Biblo, I sent you an email with the questions from the chat that had come through already so that it was easier, so you didn't have to scroll through all of them.
Great.
Some were answered already. So if you were going to answer the chat questions.
Have been booked up. Okay, the essay workshops have been booked up as of last week. I don't know, Chris, will more workshops be made available?
I'll speak to the counselor to see if we can add a couple more.
Okay.
We've already added a few more on top of the ones we originally had, but I'll speak to them.
Okay, do colleges look at the unweighted or weighted GPA, and does that vary by Ivy League? Nope, every college, every transcript has the same weighted grade, period. Unless a college is asking for the unweighted grade on their questions portion, which is very rare, it's not highlighted. And Ivy League schools don't typically ask that. For kids graduating in 2024, are SATs required or optional now? I have no idea. That depends on the college, and you can easily look up because every college has their own policy with test optional. It's not a blanket answer. Is this true that SAT tests are changing next year? There is a buzz that it's changing. They're trying to change it so that they have a job. They're trying to make it more user friendly. They're sinking, guys. So they're doing anything they can. You know, by 2024, it'll be like 2 + 2, like just to keep this going. But yes, I heard they're changing. We are not privy to any insider information yet, other than we're hearing buzz. It may be all computerized soon. It might have a little bit easier, the sections, not as long, maybe 2 hours instead of 3 hours. But as soon as we know, we will get that information across. If a school asks you to self-report your score, but does not ask for an official score to be sent, should you send the official score report anyway? Okay, so no, because they're trying to save you money now. That's a good thing. A lot of colleges are now letting you self-report. If you get in and go there, then you spend the money to have the scores officially sent. They're going by ethics. They're believing you that you took the test and got the score that you're reporting. So it's trying to save you money. Questions: at which point are students educated about the college application process? Are they well educated? The new parents, how much will counselors be bringing? Okay, so the students start to be educated about this process junior year. Throughout the spring of junior year, when we meet with at our junior planning meetings, I have a PowerPoint just like I had now. And I go through what is going to be coming. We also have in February a college application night program for the students and the parents, where again, we go through all of this. We have the college boot camp over the summer in August once the application actually comes out, because remember, the applications change. So we're just as privy to that information as you are. Right when it comes out in August, we can take a look. And then we get together in August and we see what has changed and we work with the kids on that. And then again, when we come to school, the guidance counselors just met with our seniors and we had our senior meetings, and we go through Naviance and we go through the common application. And individual meetings. I'm meeting with kids all the time who are questioning, confused. I have kids who haven't even started their application yet, and we go through the entire process. So the counselors are very helpful. We're always here, and the process, but if you're asking specifically, the process typically starts mid to the end of junior year. I think I answered. Okay, so is early action binding? No. You can apply to as many early action schools as you want, except if it's the restrictive early action, which again, I think is like Yale or Harvard that ask for that. And we also don't limit the amount of applications you can apply to. If you have the funds to send those applications, go right ahead. Average is 10 to 15, I'd say, across my desk, where a student will apply to 10 to 15 schools. Some more, some less.
We have another question that came through on the PTA email.
Go ahead.
Let me just grab that. Is the GPA on the 8-point scale being removed from the transcript?
Yes, we never report the 8-point. It's the highest the student can get is 100. Even if you have 105, it's still 100.
Okay, there was a follow-up to that. I'm not sure if this relates to what you just said, because my kids are juniors and I don't know what I'm saying, but we'll try. Currently the students who are applying to colleges this year are using the unofficial transcript with the 8.0 GPA on it. If this is changing, the students need to know? Are they sending out applications with incorrect information?
Okay, the students do not send the transcript out, and what they see on their portal is not the transcript that we send. The transcript that we send is out of 100. There's no 8-point scale, and it is weighted.
Okay, there's a couple more questions that came in the chat. I don't know if you have time for those or not, but
So I could, the
up to you.
GPA, yeah, I can answer. The GPA and how it's converted is in the parent-student handbook in terms of how it's converted. It's an involved system in terms of what happens. We have it on a 0 to 8.5 scale, 8.5 being 100, 8.4 being a 99.5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how it's on an 8.5 scale. And then we break it down, as Ms. Bibelow said, into a numerical value. That is what gets sent on the transcript, and it is explained how it's broken down in the parent-student handbook regarding that. There was a question regarding PSATs for sophomores and juniors. Should they take it? To go along really with what Ms. Bibelow was saying, you know, if you're a sophomore, there's some material that you may not be familiar with based on Algebra 2 and some of the classes that you're with, but you're just getting an opportunity to sit for a test in a standardized environment and learn how to sit and take a test. The scores don't go anywhere sophomore year. You're not eligible for the National Merit Scholarship competition. That is junior year. So if you have a question about it, you should speak to your guidance counselor specifically, because it's more individual in terms of the courses you're taking. But it is something you should consider sophomore year and junior year. You should take it, just to take it to get a practice test. And I guess what I'll end with this then. This was an incredible turnout. Even though a few people went off, and I said I'm going to still name, we had over 200 people today. This is recorded, and this will be emailed to everyone. We hope towards tomorrow, Friday, we'll probably get it out to everybody so they can watch, they can review the questions, they can review Ms. Bibelow's incredible PowerPoint presentation. And what I would end with two things is, if you have any questions specifically, contact your guidance counselor. And lastly, we'll see you in late October when we discuss programming. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much.